Hi there, and welcome back to the channel. We just spent 2 days in London and had a great time. Make sure to check out that video in the link down below. Now we found ourselves at Heathrow Airport getting ready to board our very short flight over to Dublin. But first we had some unfinished business here. Before we left, we decided we had to get a Costa coffee, because they're everywhere here in the UK. Want to try it?
It's good. It's not a very strong coffee flavor, although I got like a frappe. So
Yeah.
a glorified milkshake.
Yeah.
But it's not bad.
Rather underwhelming coffee consumed, we headed to the gate, and before we knew it, we were soaring through the sky to the Dublin International Airport. The airport is only about a 30-minute drive from the center of the city, so the cab set us back about €30 after tip. Hey guys, we are back in London. Wait, we're in Dublin.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we are back in Dublin. If you remember, last year we were in Dublin for a couple days, and we went to Cork for a few days, and we just kind of traveled around Ireland, and we had such a great time that we wanted to come back. So here we are. We love this country, and there was a lot we wanted to do on this, our 4th trip back to Dublin. But we were only here for 48 hours before a scheduled day-long tour up to Northern Ireland, so we had to get going. It was already in the afternoon when we started our first sightseeing day, so we wasted no time in making our way to the Liffey River. Our hotel was on the north side of the Liffey, the river that splits Dublin into its northern and southern halves. Most of the things we wanted to do, though, were on the south side of the river, so we had to find a way to get across. This brings us to the Halfpenny Bridge. This bridge has been a part of Dublin's history since 1816, when an enterprising ferry owner decided that it would be more lucrative to build a bridge and charge a halfpenny to cross rather than perform maintenance on his aging fleet of ferries. There is no toll being exacted from bridge crossers today, and it's a very convenient way to get from north to south. This bridge is a cast iron structure, and it's good that it's made of this strong stuff, because an estimated 25,000 to 30,000 people cross this bridge every day. The Halfpenny Bridge took us directly through the buildings on the other side and into one of the most iconic districts in the city, Temple Bar. Now, if you know nothing else about Dublin, you probably know that Temple Bar is located here, and maybe also that St. Patrick's a big deal. Temple Bar is the name of this neighborhood right to the south of the Liffey, and it's a very lively place. Here you can find tons of restaurants and bars featuring plenty of traditional Irish food and drink, great atmosphere, and on most days, awesome live music. One of the most famous institutions in this neighborhood is, of course, the Temple Bar Pub. This pub is enormous, and we decided that we would try a pint of something local while taking in the atmosphere and enjoying the live music today. This pub is fairly old, and the current license here can be traced back to 1840, but many people think that this pub, or some form of drinking establishment, was located at this spot earlier than that. To be honest, the history of this place seems to be a little bit hazy. There were plenty of beer options here in case you're not a Guinness lover, and the atmosphere was very cozy. The bar itself is broken up into several smaller rooms, and there's even a skylight as you move through the building. The Temple Bar Pub is also a famous place because of its wide selection of whiskeys. So if you like beer, whiskey, or music, you can find something here that you'll enjoy. However, we would caution you that this pub does offer its beverages at tourist trap prices. You're looking at about €9 minimum for a pint here. Contrast that with the national average around €6. Also, for all the sticklers out there, we will make the distinction: Temple Bar Pub is a bar in the Temple Bar neighborhood. When people refer to Temple Bar in Dublin, they're talking about this area, not specifically the pub. Okay, disclaimer out of the way, we can keep on our tour. After thoroughly enjoying ourselves in the Temple Bar area, it was time to indulge in something a bit more scholarly. We decided to walk through Trinity College. Trinity College has had many amazing minds wander through its halls, and we wanted to see what the fuss was all about. The campus grounds are open to the public, and it's a very interesting place to see. This college was established in 1592, making it over 400 years old. The buildings here are quite beautiful, and it was very calming to walk around the grounds while we were here. We had been here before, and obviously we thought it was worth going back. One of the main attractions at the college is the so-called Long Library and the Book of Kells. Both of these attractions are located in one building on the campus grounds, and you can access them by purchasing a ticket on the Trinity College website. If you're interested, we included a link down below. On the lower level of this building, you will experience the Book of Kells. This book is important because it's a 1,200-year-old illustrated manuscript of 4 Gospels of the Bible. It's often considered one of the oldest, best preserved, and most beautiful manuscripts still around today, and it was really quite astonishing to see what people over a millennia ago were able to do with illustrations and color. On the upper part of this building is the Long Hall, or Long Library. This really blew our socks off. There are over 200,000 books located here, and you are immediately transported back in time when you walk into this room. You can find the Trinity College harp here too, a nearly 600-year-old instrument whose origin is, like Temple Bar Pub, almost unknown. What is known is that this harp became the national symbol of Ireland, and an inverse image of this harp is also located on every bottle, can, and glass of Guinness beer that you might drink here. The Book of Kells and the Long Room experience can be booked online, and we recommend that you do because it often sells out. The price is €25. From Trinity College, we headed down one of the most expensive streets to rent property on in Europe, Grafton Street. This pedestrian zone is filled with tons of shops, and it stretches from Trinity College all the way to St. Stephen's Green. It is nice just to walk down this street, and oftentimes there will be street performers or vendors standing outside of their shops. One of the pastimes that avid shoppers engage in on Grafton Street and throughout the rest of Ireland is purchasing wool clothing. Catherine was one of these shoppers, very keen to get a new wool sweater, and of course it had to come from Ireland. Ireland has a history of producing high-quality wool, and it's still a big draw for tourists today. We searched high and low, going into several stores for great wool sweaters for a great price. Looking for a sweater?
Yes. I deserve it.
Yeah.
Not that much money, though.
What do you see, Catherine?
What do I see?
Yeah.
I see more sweaters.
Well, how many have we tried on now?
I've tried 2, so that's not...
Yeah.
It's a lot to think about, you know? Should I just go full Irish?
With the shamrocks?
Yeah. This might be the one. I don't know.
There are great wool clothes here, but just keep in mind that if you want an authentic Irish wool sweater and you're looking in Dublin, you're likely paying over €100 for the piece. We had just enough time left in the day before dinner to check out St. Stephen's Green. This is at the end of Grafton Street, and we've been here several times, but we just can't get enough of the beautifully manicured and very quiet space. The Green is a park that was once the property of estate owners around the square, but it was opened up to the public in 1880. It's a very nice place to just walk around and enjoy the weather, especially when we were getting as good a weather as we were on this trip.
Just as beautiful as the last time we were here.
Yeah, and it's so nice out too. We've gotten so lucky with the weather.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Sunny every time we're in Ireland. Hopefully it stays that way.
People probably don't believe us when we say that it didn't rain.
I know. The north entrance of this park features a very large arch, which would be a more familiar scene, we think, in Rome or Paris than Dublin. This is a memorial arch for the Dublin Fusiliers, a regiment of the British Army who died in the Second Boer War from 1899 to 1902. This park is also notable for being occupied by the Irish Citizen Army Volunteers during the Easter Uprising of 1916, one of the steps that took the people here from being under British rule to independence from the Crown. It was getting late now, so we decided to make it dinner time. Tonight we were headed to Ireland's oldest pub, the Brazen Head. This pub was established in 1198 according to tradition, but the current building was built in the 18th century. We will suspend our disbelief on the whole oldest pub in Ireland thing, especially since many of the buildings and establishments in Dublin that are nearly 600 years newer still have debates over when they were actually built. Regardless, it's a very cool restaurant, and once again you get a cozy feeling that you do in so many Irish pubs. There's a wide selection of food to choose from, and we went for the beef and Guinness stew with potatoes, and fish and chips, two staples if you come here. We really do love Irish food, and we've tried quite a bit of it. Some of our favorites are the fish and chips, beef and Guinness pie, bangers and mash, a very nice full Irish breakfast, although we don't really like the black pudding, seafood chowders, and of course the beef burgers. If you haven't been to Ireland before, you might not know beef is a huge staple in Ireland. Some say there's more cows than people. The burgers and fries here are amazing. With that, we headed back to our hotel to get a good night's rest before heading out for the next day. We rose bright and early to a bright and beautiful sunny day in Dublin. This was the second and final day of our trip here, and we still had so much to do. Today we'd be spending some time a bit further to the east of the main part of Dublin. We walked across the Liffey and found ourselves at Christchurch Cathedral. This is one of the two remaining medieval cathedrals in the city. We had visited St. Patrick's Cathedral, the other medieval one, on another trip here. Christchurch definitely feels like a building you walk through in the Middle Ages. It's very ornate, but in a very understated way, different than many of the gaudy churches that you might find in Europe. This is likely because it's a bit older. The original church was built out of wood here in the 11th century by Vikings, replaced with a stone structure in the 12th century. The form of the church as seen today was created in the 19th century, but it certainly still gives a medieval feel. There is a crypt below the church, which is actually quite interesting, and it contains several treasures and exhibits. One exhibit that we were a bit surprised to see was that of a mummified cat and rat. According to legend, a cat chased a rat into a pipe organ centuries ago. Because of the anaerobic environment in there, they apparently became mummified, and were found in 1850 and put on display. They've been affectionately named Tom and Jerry. The entrance fee to this church is €11.50. If you like touring churches, we can also recommend St. Patrick's. St. Patrick's is just a 10-minute walk away from Christchurch, and it features a beautiful garden park area. St. Patrick's is much more of a tourist church, meaning that you can find audio guides that'll take you around to several different marked stations in the church, giving you information about the church, St. Patrick, and many of the benefactors of this building. If nothing else, you can visit the spot where it's believed that St. Patrick baptized many of the first Irish Christians. St. Patrick's Church costs €10 to enter. Keeping with the medieval theme, we decided to visit the Dublin Castle. Today this castle is very unassuming, and it resembles something more out of a 19th or 20th century government state house than anything that would be considered a castle. There are a few parts that look castle-ish, if you will, and some of them are actually remaining from the original castle. However, if you go on a tour, you can see so much more of the original building that's been since found during archaeological digs. We decided to do this tour with the castle, which took us down to the archaeological excavations in the basement, where we could not only see the old castle walls and old powder tower, but also learned a lot about Dublin in the Viking Age. After all, this was a Viking settlement before anything else. We learned from our guide that there's still a lot we don't know about the original inhabitants here, but we're learning more and more every year from excavations like this. After seeing the old part of the tower, we were taken to the Royal Chapel, which served as the official chapel of the family of the Lord Lieutenants up until Ireland became a free state in 1922. Each Lord Lieutenant carved their family coat of arms into the gallery, and then on the windows when they ran out of space, whenever they left office. One of the highlights here was this enormous ballroom called St. Patrick's Hall. It was absolutely beautiful, and it's a very important room in this castle. Another important site here is the throne room, which contains the very large throne made for the very large King George IV, who is said to have died at 24 stone, or about 330 pounds. That's quite an impressive size for the early 19th century. You can purchase a self-guided tour of the state apartments for only €8. If you want to see the Viking excavations and the Royal Chapel like we did, you'll have to book a guided tour, which unfortunately you have to purchase directly from the front desk of the castle. This means that if you arrive too late in the day, you probably aren't going to be able to get a ticket, which is actually exactly what happened to us the first time we came to Dublin. We would recommend sending someone to the castle when it opens in the morning to get the tickets, enjoy your day out in the city, and then come back for your tour time. If you like touring older places like this, you might also like Marsh's library. When it opened in 1707, Marsh's library effectively became the first public library in Ireland. This library is famous for its study of early printed books. There are several beautifully illustrated printed books here. It's quite interesting to see. However, Catherine was a lot more interested in these little cages that the librarians would keep readers in so that they wouldn't steal the books that they're reading. There have been several famous people to use this library, including the rather spooky Bram Stoker of Dracula fame. However, Bram Stoker being here is not quite as spooky as the ghost that apparently lives here and rummages through the books each midnight. After enjoying a bit of light reading and a bit of a scare, it was time for a drink. There are so many brewery and distillery tours that are offered in Dublin, two of the most popular being the Guinness Storehouse and the Jameson Bow Street facility. We can attest that both of these tours are fantastic, and if this is your first time in Dublin, you should really experience one of them, or both. If you want more information on those, you can check out our previous Dublin videos, which are linked down below. Today we were going to another very popular, yet still slightly under the radar tour of the Teeiling Whiskey Distillery. Teeiling is a very new brand, being the first new distillery opened in Dublin in over 125 years. Teeiling was established in 2015. Even though it's new to the scene, Teeiling has already earned several awards, including Best Irish Single Malt for 2 different ages, and Best Irish Single Grain at the 2016 World Whiskey Awards. We decided to do this tour because it was different. We're not really whiskey people, and to be honest, neither of us care for it too much, but we find the production process and history of whiskey making fascinating. This tour took us through an actual production floor where we could see all of the tanks and apparatuses needed for whiskey production. This is what sets Teeiling apart from the Jameson tour, namely the fact that no production actually takes place at the building where you take the Jameson tour. Teeiling is a fully functioning whiskey distillery. We also learned a lot about the production and shipping of whiskey here, and then of course we were able to sample a few different whiskeys as well as try a couple of mixed drinks. The mixed drinks were delicious. We would recommend this tour to whiskey lovers or people just looking for something to do on a rainy afternoon. The cost of the tour that we took was the basic tour at €20. There are several different experiences listed on the Teeiling's website, but overall the tour is the same with just slightly different drinks being presented to you at the end. Overall, we thought it was worth it. We absolutely love Dublin, but unfortunately our time here had come to an end. We still had a full day in Northern Ireland tomorrow, heading up to Belfast to see the Titanic Museum, and then heading even further north to check out the famous Giant's Causeway. Make sure that you subscribe so you can see when these videos come out. If you're interested in our other Irish adventures from last year, like our trip from Dublin to Cork by train, hanging out in Cork, checking out the Blarney Castle, and more, you can find these on our channel or down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.